Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm your host, Dawn, also known as Unique Connector. So I'm really excited to have Nancy back on the show. She was the one that really helped me kick and launch the podcast, really. And so I'm so gracious to have her back. She's been in my corner through this whole journey that I've been on. And one thing that I'm really excited about is Nancy is getting real by launching a book. So, woo, Nancy,
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Dawn. And I just have to say, it's been amazing watching and witnessing your journey. Even before we hopped on the call here, just the energy that was flowing with your growth is just so much fun to be a part of. So, thank you for having a podcast and inviting me back. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm so excited to focus and just, turn the wheels more and hear more from Nancy. And so let's even just kind of reverse a little bit here of real. Talk to me about how you thought of getting all of your framework and all your thoughts into a book and why you decided to launch a book. Talk to me more.
Um, yeah, it's funny, the why of the book. The book actually sort of just came to fruition. The why of the whole framework is just really, I believe that who you are is more important than what you do. And it's a phrase that I've said over and over, and people kind of look at me like, what? And when you get it, you get it. And that is just that we're all just so unique and important to this world. And when we can honor each other's individual uniqueness, we're able to capitalize on our greatness, and we just become that much stronger together when we're great on our own. Yeah. So the book was a result of my coaching practice, but even before my coaching practice, it was what I witnessed in the corporate world. What I witnessed was that people are so talented and so gifted, yet they're often squelched,
Mm.
and they start to become less engaged, less valued, less participative, and just um, they stop being who they really are. And so I was really delighted to have a space where I got to help people tap into those talents. But what I discovered is people that we just, as humans, we just all have um this desire to be seen, heard, and recognized and appreciated. And that gets kind of robbed from us in our daily experiences, because let's face it, life's moving fast and everybody has a lot of things on their plate. And so getting real is about all of that, and how to live in um, being true to yourself while you're in the reality of this world. And yeah, so that's I wanted to capture that. I wanted to capture what I saw, what I felt, what I believed, and why I think it's so important that we just all honor our uniqueness.
I love that so much. And this is why, I've worked with you for so long, is because you saw something in me. You were in my corner, but I was the type too where I would kind of work, work, work. I thought that's where I would show my uniqueness by productivity, my results, what I could get done, how much I could get done, where I could be, who could I like, bring in for sales. Like that's how I was always rating myself. And that's what I thought was my uniqueness, which, like we always say, sometimes too, like there's other people out there that can fill your shoes and you're replaceable. And so what comes up as I'm saying those kind of things, because you've seen me on my journey and reflecting and learning about myself.
Yeah, and we start to believe that, like, you're replaceable, and that's often said in the corporate world, right? Anybody can we can get somebody else to do this job. Yeah, you can get somebody else to do the job. Do you want a real person who's gonna get you real results, who's gonna love doing it and get those results by, feeling like they're adding as much value as you want them to add? That's the bottom line. We want our, in the corporate world, we want our employees to participate, right? And add value. But we forget that the best way that we add value is when we're ourselves, when we're doing what we're naturally best at and what we love. It's the combination of those two things that really helps us be our best self.
Mm. Well, I know even through my journey too is reflecting and actually recognizing what I like doing or what brings me joy. And that was always a hard thing for me because I just anything that was thrown at me, I'd figure it out and I would do it and I would work harder. And I think that's where I could never too always figure out what was my unique skill set or what was even Dawn outside of work sometimes, or take the work mask off. I think, some people just don't ever have that time to really analyze themselves and take it in.
Yeah. And when you are determined, like you are, and let's face it, a lot of people who are intentional about developing their career, they're very determined. And people want to succeed. I mean, we all want to be successful.
Mhm.
And what happens is we start to become successful because of what society has told us success is. And the bottom line is successful is different for every person. And
Mm,
so then we start to lose who we really are. And when we can go back to focusing on, wait, this is how I add value. And I am successful because I'm bringing what I have and only I can do to the table.
mm,
Um, and it's very nuanced because, of course, every position needs us to do. There's, always the stuff that a lot of people can do it.
yeah.
But when you're the right person doing it in alignment with yourself, then you're really the only person who can do it and achieve the results. The results are an an aftermath. The results come from who you delivering the work over time.
Mhm. When you're aligning in the right space. And so, for you, Nancy, this isn't your first book, but it's your first book switching gears into more professional focus, I guess you could say. And
Mhm.
so let's even talk about that journey. How is it for you of two when you're coaching people and you're experiencing it and then you put it on paper and start writing? How is that process even for you as a person going through it?
I love that you asked this because it's taking me back to when I wrote the first book, Acres of Life, which was more of a memoir. And that writing that book was really where that's what helped me to become and really step into who I am as a person and get a little bit more vulnerable was putting some stuff on paper and letting the world see that, right? And what's really interesting is I never thought I was going to write another book. I mean, I just didn't even have it on my heart. And this sort of evolved. Um, and the best part about writing this book is that I've become more real writing how you get real.
Mm.
Because not only now am I sharing what I've supported, employees and now my clients with in my practice, I am living it. These are tools that I have practiced, some of them for years, some of them very new. And when you have to articulate what you've personally learned how to practice, you start to realize, and maybe I don't know if question's the right word, but you start to wonder, like, am I really practicing this? Like, wait a minute, how am I staying true to what I really have told myself I'm doing, you know? So, in writing the book, I actually started like, okay, wait, like I need to redo this activity. And which is what got me to this is really a book of it's a toolkit.
Mhm.
It's repeated tools that you can repeatedly use because we're growing all the time. And so when I did the activities, when I first learned them, or even a year ago, my results that I get from doing the activities today are very different because I've grown.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the process of writing the book, I committed to write it 3 years ago. I thought I would have it done in a year. And what really happened is it became so much more
Mhm.
than I ever imagined. It became my uniqueness.
Mm. Well, I'm so proud of you too for putting it out there into the world and trying to make other people even better. You're as we learn things, we're always trying to work on ourselves, but then to share the tools and the things that we've learned, some people are hesitant to share the goodness sometimes or the greatness that they've learned because it's like the hidden secret. And I think that's the part for you that I'm just so proud that you're willing to share it with other people and to have them experience it. And then two, it's something that you can rinse and repeat and recycle and reuse again. And that's the part for me where through my journey, I feel like sometimes it was kind of like, all right, learn that new thing. Cool. You got it in your toolbox. Let's keep going. Where we don't always take time to go back and refresh and learn it differently or even analyze, like, how far have I come since even the last time I did this exercise?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really why I put the framework together because um, the framework is tools to help you identify what is right for you. So it's not do it this way because Nancy did it this way. It's here's some tools to help you figure out how to do it your way.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important because that does honor the uniqueness. I've got samples in there and, lessons from my experiences, but only you can create your understanding of your greatness within you and what you want your greatness to become.
Greatness to become right there. I love that, Nancy. And this is, I think, even for me too, it was a learning process to watch you go through this process, but also too for me being one of your beta readers. And like, and this is the part even for a reflection for going through the process with you is I loved reading it and experiencing it and going through and hearing other people critique it. But it was almost too like, gosh, I don't want people to say any bad things. Like it was like, okay, this Nancy's put her heart and soul into this and she's created this. And so it was even hard for me to speak up sometimes to even give a reflection or, hey, this is what I thought of, maybe it should be adjusted a little bit. Like for me, that was really hard. And I was even listening and watching the other people because I'm like, don't stop Nancy in her tracks. Like I wanted you to keep moving. And I think that was the part for me of learning through that process of just people pleasing, but also too, like, where is the boundary, Dawn? And I was learning in the process of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because it does trigger some feelings, right? Like that's when we get constructive feedback or we start to question our self-worth. And I don't know if you as a beta reader recognize this. And as we talk more about the framework itself in another podcast, we'll get into this. But what I was really doing was practicing the activities that are in the E section of the book and
Mm.
then the A section of the book because so the book is called Get Real, Reflect, Engage, Align, and Lead Yourself to Greatness. So engage is the E, and I was engaging by asking for feedback, listening to the feedback, asking good questions, not judging, taking all the information in. These are all the things I'm teaching in the engage section. And then I'm aligning by saying, what things are those were right for me and
Uh,
what's really Nancy. And I
uh,
had to make those decisions. Yeah.
yeah. And see, even aha moments too, where I'm like, see, look at you, we've been practicing it during the process. And for me, I was like, I don't like this, like not that it was all criticism, but like the feedback. And I think that's always been a hard thing for me too, as I've learned through my leadership journey, where sometimes I've just kind of steamrolled and keep moving ahead because I didn't want to always maybe engage or to hear the criticism or to hear the feedback. And I think that's probably for
Mhm.
a lot of leaders listening too that can recognize that. And so that's why I've loved how you've helped me learn and grow and to also take that time to reflect and to hear thoughts from other people and to be curious and how you can learn and grow, but also not affect who you are and your uniqueness.
Yeah. And, the bottom line is life is supposed to be fun.
Mm,
And we take all the fun out of it by constantly evaluating ourselves and comparing ourselves to others. And so the more we practice this, the more fun we have.
mm,
And that is another big shift I've seen in myself is I am loving life because
mm,
I'm living this.
mm. I love this so much. And I'm so, so proud of you for doing this because it's a huge step, a big monument. And this is where I'm like, even though you said earlier, I had put this out there 3 years ago, I was supposed to finish the year. I think look at the journey and look at how this has come to fruition. It would probably be totally different book,
Oh, it would be.
right? And that's where I think too to like give ourselves grace. And you've been
Mm.
part of the journey and you're recognizing things and leaning in and helping other people along the way. And so I'm so thankful to have you on the show and I'm excited to have two more episodes to really talk about the framework behind the book and then also to how we're living in it and being real. So so proud of you,
Thanks,
Nancy.
Thanks, Dawn. I'm so excited. I am planning on the book to launch the first week of October. So there's, all the little fine tuning going on in the background. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to sharing it with the world. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on to share this journey.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to share, read it again, and to lean in and just, yeah, keep growing. So proud of you, Nancy. And I hope the listeners have so many takeaways, but follow us on this journey. And I'm excited for the book launch. So way to go, Nancy.
Thanks, Dawn.